you'd expect to see on a downhill ski course. Snow, gates, a skier. Things you wouldn't expect to see, a stunt plane racing, twisting, and darting downwards at speeds of over 200 miles per hour. It took place last week and was reportedly the first time something like this was ever attempted at the Strife ski run in the European nation of Austria. Italian flyer Dario Costa, who's a Red Bull Air race pilot, dealt with more than 10 G's of force as he zipped as closely as he could over the nearly 2-mile-long course. He described it as challenging, steep, and tight, requiring him to utilize all of the plane's controls to get down the slope and through its obstacles. But he wasn't alone. American skier Darren Ralphs got to watch Costa from the snow. The stunt was part of the publicity surrounding upcoming ski races at the mountain. Hi, I'm Carl Azuz. Welcome to a new week of news coverage on the world from A to Z. An international spat is brewing between the United States and the South American nation of Colombia. The Trump administration is in the process of deporting or expelling people who are in the U.S. illegally. This includes putting some on military flights and sending them back to their home countries. It's part of President Donald Trump's pledge to crack down on illegal immigration, which hit record high levels under the administration of former President Joe Biden. And it's controversial. Some say deportations reduce the strain on American resources, improve security, and discourage people from trying to enter the U.S. illegally. Others say as long as they haven't committed other crimes, everyone who enters the U.S. should be allowed to stay, contribute to the workforce, and get the chance to start a new life. On Sunday, Colombian President Gustavo Petro refused to allow 2 U.S. military planes to land in his country. They were carrying Colombians who'd been deported from the U.S. for living there without permission. American officials say Colombia actually approved the flights earlier, but that President Petro changed his policy after the planes had taken off. And it appeared to be a protest over how the migrants were transferred. The Colombian president said his nation and its migrants should be, quote, respected. He said he didn't like that U.S. military planes were used for deportation flights and offered his presidential plane instead. The U.S. government says when other nations' citizens are deported for being in America illegally, it's their home country's responsibility to accept them in an expeditious manner. In response, President Trump announced new tariffs or additional taxes of 25% on goods Colombia plans to sell in America. Colombia's biggest trading partner is the U.S., while America itself has much bigger ones. So unless the two nations resolve their dispute, the economic effects could be worse for Colombia, though Americans might see higher prices on things like coffee, which it imports a lot of from Colombia. The two countries are still negotiating over what happens next.
Word of knowledge. What is the most widely used food dye in the United States? Red 40, yellow 5, blue 1, caramel coloring. The synthetic food dye that's used more than any other in America is red 40. Another type of red dye will eventually be banned.
It can be found in candy, cakes, even some medicines. Red dye number 3 is all around us, but experts say it may be harmful to our health.
Studies have shown cancer growth in animals.
Last week, the FDA revoked the authorization for use of red dye number 3 in foods, beverages, and ingested medicines. But the agency is giving food manufacturers until January 2027 and pharmaceutical companies until January 2028 to reformulate their products. But you don't have to wait until then to slash the substance from your diet, says registered dietitian Julia Zumpano with Cleveland Clinic.
Be very diligent about reading those ingredient labels because the dyes can be kind of hidden in there.
Zumpano recommends avoiding all synthetic dyes, not just red 3. Since the dyes are added during processing, she says to eat whole foods instead. She also says to watch out for beverages because dyes can hide there too. Finally, use an alternative like fruit or vegetable extracts that can be used to color foods for a special occasion.
None of these food dyes are necessary. They're not healthy. They do not provide any nutrition. So there's no harm in eliminating them. You're only creating more health benefits.
I'm Mandy Gaither.
On this date in world history. A patent was granted on January 27, 1880 that would change life as people knew it. At the time, it was called an electric lamp, and though it was granted to American inventor Thomas Edison, the U.S. National Archives says he didn't really invent the light bulb. He improved its design to make it affordable, reliable, and safe. This was the date in 1945 when the infamous Auschwitz-Birkenau death camp was liberated during World War II. It was located in occupied Poland and operated by Nazi Germany. More than 1.1 million people, the vast majority of whom were Jews, lost their lives at Auschwitz. And January 27, 1973 was when the Paris Peace Accords were signed. They formally ended the U.S. role in the Vietnam War and established a ceasefire in the country. However, fighting between North and South Vietnamese forces resumed afterward until the North ultimately prevailed in 1975. Where in the world? This is an East Asian country whose history dates back thousands of years. It has 14 border countries, including India and Russia. It once had the world's largest population, but India surpassed it a couple of years ago. This is China, a communist country that's a little smaller than the US, but has more than 4 times America's population.
China has a big problem. What to do with what has been worn, but not worn much. It's fast fashion, styles that come and go in months, then are quickly discarded. 26 million tons a year. Wenzhou Tiancheng Textile Company is trying to change that. Clothes are sorted before being crammed into shredding machines. In a blow room, the shredded fibers are sorted by color and then fed into spinning machines. Then it's off to a carding room to be brushed in the same direction. In the drawing process, fibers are straightened and then wound into cones and wrapped for shipping, shipped mostly to Europe. But China would like to start using more of its own recycled textile material.
China should be the best place for post-consumer waste because we have manufacturing here, we have consumers here, we have the technologies.
This big country has made big promises about curbing CO2, and recycling should help. Young, innovative textile designers could play a part too. Zhang Na has a fashion label for clothes and accessories made from plastic bottles, fishing nets, and flour sacks.
I think excessive consumerism really eats away at people's minds.
It has to be put into the whole circular economy context. And so it's not just remaking, you need to start it from like recyclable fibers.
Putting the brakes on fashion waste isn't going to happen overnight though.
In Chinese society, we need some time after maybe 1 or 2 generations that recycling is something running in their veins, that it's part of their habits.
Starting our daily recognition of viewers in America's heartland. That's Kansas, aka Midway, USA, and it's where Mr. Macia's or Meisha's class is watching at Emporia High School. The Spartans are in Emporia. Mr. Williams' class is next. In the Yellowhammer state of Alabama, we're running with the Bucks of Hoover High School. Great to see y'all at Hoover. And in St. Mary's, Ontario, Canada, we see the Salukis of St. Mary's District Collegiate and Vocational Institute. Mrs. Cutscutter's class is there and awesome. Here's a story sure to heat up debate about whether pineapple belongs on pizza. The owners of a restaurant in Britain hate it. They detest pineapple pizza so much that they wrote on a delivery app, quote, "You can have it, you monster." But those who buy it from Lupa Pizza will be charged extra, a total of 100 British pounds or $124. Has this hurt business? We don't know. Some love the move, some hate it. One called it a great bit of harmless marketing. Some might say it's discriminatory. Some call pineapple pizza disgusting. You could go donuts in the debate about the doughs and donuts of what's doughable on pizza, but if you don't know what to decide when doling out for delivery, maybe it's best to let sleeping doughs lie and stick with pepperoni, y'all. I'm Carl Azuz for The World from A to Z. You are the best audience in news, and you mean the world to me.